All right, so I'm taking for granted you can still hear me and you can see the screen. Am I correct?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Now, I honestly, I so much appreciate what you did. If that ever happens, and this is for you and anybody else, because this has happened in the afternoon class, where for whatever reason the connection drops. But if that happens and you can't get a hold of me to let me know, please immediately email me. Because when I hear a ding like that, the first thing I do is I go over here and I look and like I can see you're still on here. But if I see you're dropped, all right, then I'm going to have to do something about it. So, all right, I'm going to not redo everything. But the second problem here, which was that guessing game, I'm going to go back and review what I've done so far, even if you saw all this. So here were the 7 program constants. The minimum guess that we can make is 1 and the maximum is 100. The reason that's important is if we make a guess and if that guess literally, right? So literally, if that guess is out of range, we don't want to count it. So if you put in -43, we're not going to count it. If you put in 612, we're not going to count it. That's why we've got the min guess and the max guess. NNG, we were told for a non-numeric guess to put non with a pound sign guess. So that's what that's for. If our guess is indeed out of range, that's what this is for. And there's one too many O's in there. All right. But that's guess out of range. WTH is was too high. So if you guess 60 and the number was 40, it'll say the number 40 was too high. This, if you did it the other way, if you guessed 40 and it was 60, it'll say the number 40 was too low. And if you guessed it correct, it'll say basically, that the guess was correct. So that's what those are for. Then we had our program variables, random, which is going to be the random number we want to generate each time we want to start a new game. Guess is our current guess. Total guesses is the total number of guesses we have made. So we want to make sure that once you stop playing a game and start a new game, that total guesses will have to be reset to 0. Is valid, once again, is going to be our Boolean Boolean flag variable. So we'll assume it's true. All right. And the status will be just that, too high, too low, or we got it correct. ELEM, again, will end up being used when we put in the picture down at the bottom. All right, now I didn't think I removed this, but I did, so that's fine. I'm going to show you here another way that you can go in and you can put in um, these event listeners. It's going to look very similar to what we just did, but you see both ways actually used out in industry. So since I'm doing it this way and I'm passing that event object, now when I call this, I don't just say clear form, clear the form, but I put in the parens. All right. And you see it both ways like this. That's the only reason I'm showing it to you here. I just didn't want it where people were confused. So I did it one way with the BMI and I'm doing it the other way with this one. All right. So that's going to be when we press the clear form button. This, let's do our new game next. We'll call this start new game. And then finally, we'll have our other one in here, which will be when we actually want to make a guess. All right. So again, we have 3 buttons in here. So if I run this again, what you will notice is, boom, there's our cursor because we set at the bottom, set the focus there. So that's already done. We're going to first do the clear form. All right. Then we're going to do the new game. Then we're going to do the make guess. So these are our buttons. If we go back and examine them with a view page source, you'll notice that our button names are make guess, clear form, and new game. All right. The reason I bring that up is make guess, clear form, and new game. All right. Just so you see that that stuff is in there. All right. You can still hear me, Grant? Everything is okay?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Okay. So let's start writing those and we'll do clear form first. I've already started it. Okay. Whenever we clear the form, what do we want to have happen? Well, we want to take the current guess and we want to clear that. All right. Next, let me move this up. We want to take this. Whoops. And we want to set it back to that red asterisk. Okay. Then we want to take our status and clear that out as well. All right. Plus, we want to take whatever was down there on the bottom. All right. That we want to clear out whatever was into that picture. All right. So that is now called game status picture. Maybe not the greatest name, but it's the one I used. All right. So game status picture dot text content. We want to clear that out. And finally, we want to set the focus back to the guess. Okay, I think that's everything. Now, we can check this out, at least part of it. So let me save everything. Let me go back to where we were running it. This I can now close. All right, I'm going to refresh. I'm going to put a number in here. And I'm going to clear the form. It did clear it. Okay. Now, if I put nothing in there and I click make guess, nothing will happen because we put no code in there yet. And you can see the clear form is working. All right. The difference between clearing the form and a new game, basically the main difference is, all right, we want to do 2 other things. We want to take our total guesses and clear those out because it's a new game. Plus, since it's a new game, we want to generate a new random number. All right, so we'll do that one next. So I'm going to have here const start new game. All right, I'm going to leave this one up here because I want you to be able to see this. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I might as well clear the form. So in other words, what I'm doing here is when I call this, when I click this button, the first thing I'm doing is calling that routine. So it's as though when I click the start new game button, it's as though I also click the clear the form button. All right, so that'll clear that. Let's create a new random number. And I got this literally right from W3 Schools. That will give us a random number that is between 0 and 99. We will add 1 to it, which will give us a random number between 1 and 100. All right, we want to take our total guesses. That's our variable for the total guesses and set that back to 0. Plus where we have total guesses on the screen, which I just call total guesses. All right. we want to make sure that that dot value is equal to nothing. So there's nothing there. Now there's no way to test that because we haven't started the game yet. All right. But I just want to make sure. Can you understand what's going on here when you're clicking both buttons?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So the one that we have left then is to examine the guess. Now I called it examine guess because we don't have any idea what's going on here. In other words, the guess could have been empty. The guess could have been out of range. All right. So I'm not even calling it make guess because if we called it make guess and we put in something in there that was wrong, all right, we're saying not to even make a guess. So I just called it examine guess. That may not be the best name, but it's the one I used. So const examine guess. All right. And I set up a timer again. All right. And now, just so you see this, would I leave this in there? If this was going to be actual an application program, I wouldn't do it, but I want to show you something here. So I'm going to say if, and remember, this is the actual guess right there. So if guess dot value is triple equal to nothing, that means that we clicked the make a guess button, but we didn't put any guess in there. All right. So I put an alert in that just said no guess made. All right. Then I did some other stuff too. All right. I went in there and I set that asterisk. I think we were supposed to call that NNM, no non-numeric guess. I think that's what it was. NNG. Sorry. All right. So that's first thing. Next, I set the timer because I wanted everything to disappear in 5 seconds. So timer. And then I want to call clear the form after 5 seconds. All right. And then finally, there's no sense in going on. There's nothing else to do. So just return. Let's see if that works. All right. So I'm going to refresh here. I'm making no guess and I'm clicking make guess. There's my no guess made. Now there's the message. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. Come on. Come on. Well, it's not refreshing it. So something's wrong there. Do we have an error? Always go back. This is why I like to write a little code and then test it. Unexpected identifier, HTML input element at game.html line 1. Well, that's interesting. I don't normally get errors in my HTML. So let's just see. Game.html line 1. Well, that's my doc type line. Sometimes when it says that, it's the first line here. I don't see anything that looks incorrect there. Doc type HTML. I don't know. Hopefully we'll be able to flush this out as we get going. All right. You did see that the first thing that did run at least, all right, look at that. When I click there, nothing happens, which isn't good. Let's just check this. I'm going to try this here. Because when I don't know what the heck an error means, I Google it and I'll type in JavaScript error and paste it in. Misspelling a word or having a typo in your code. Well, it's an error regardless. Now it's showing it in the HTML, but it could be in my JavaScript too. All right. So it's not, right now at least, it's not, I don't see anything that looks like it's in error. Hopefully, if there is something, we'll find it in just a moment. All right. So that's going to handle me putting nothing in there. And again, this is up to you whether you put an alert in there or not. All right. I'm going to leave it in there, but that's fine. Now, I'm not going to put an else here. All right. Because if I get down to here, I did make some kind of a guess. All right. But what if I made a guess and basically, what if there was no random number? That shouldn't happen, but it makes no sense to make a guess if there is no random number. Now, up here, we set random number equal to 0. That means we haven't yet, entered a random number. So I'm going to say if that random number is equal to 0, if that's the case, then I'm going to generate a random number. Now, you already saw how I did that down here, so I'm just going to copy that line of code. That shouldn't ever happen the way the program is written. All I'm trying to do is show you it, in the worst type of situation. All right. So if that's the case, well, we now have a random number. We don't have to quit. We have a random number. All right. So we can start to look at our random number to see if it's too high, too low. But first, we have to check and see if it's out of range. All right. So if we get down to here, we have a guess and we have a random number to be guessed. All right. But we have to, so now we can say guess equal parse int all right. Now I'm just going to show you this and I'm going to stop for just a second. And you don't have to do this, but as I'm coding this, I like to make sure this is working. So a lot of times I will come in and put an alert and say, I'll do two things. I'll say the guess was, all right, and then I will add the guess. And then I will say the random number is, and then I will say plus rand num. Whoops, num. All right. So let's see if we're getting down to there is what I'm saying right now. All right. So let me do a file, save all. I don't like that error that we were getting before, but hopefully it's going to work its way out. So I'm going to go back to here. All right. Now I'll say 50. Make guess. All right. The guess was 50. The random number is 89. So that's working. All right. That's good. All right. I'm not worried about it clearing, or I'm not worried about any of that stuff right now. But I know that when I make a guess, all right, I know that when I'm making a guess, that guess, it's something I can now check. Okay. What do I mean? Well, remember the first thing we want to do is we want to come in here and check for an out of range guess. So if the guess is less than min guess, or the guess is greater than max guess, I'll put it all in one line. That's all there is. All right. If that's the case, all right, then I want to come over here and I want to change this next element sibling right here. All right. In fact, we didn't check this for no guess made, or maybe we did. I don't know, but let's check that. So let me do a file, save all, and let me run this again. All right, I'm going to refresh with no guess in here. See if this changes. All right, no guess made, non-number guess. That's good. That's exactly what it's doing right now, what we told it to do. All right. Okay. It doesn't appear that this is working. Clear, maybe because it's clear the form instead of clear form. That could be why. All right. So now we can go in, and after we put in this code right here, and we're going to do almost the same thing. But so I'm going to grab this code that I grabbed from right here. Okay, and I'm going to put it in here and make a couple changes to it. First of all, there wasn't no guess made. It was out of range guess made. And the message should be guess out of range. All right. So let's see if that one works. We already saw this. So if I put nothing here, I get no guess made, non-number guess. So that's good. Let's see if now we're getting this to clear. There it is. All right. Now, if we put an out of range guess, remember it's 1 to 100. So I'm going to check 101 and we get that stuff. That's fine. And out of range guess made, and that changed. Let's see if it clears. Okay. And 0, because that's also out of range. So all of that's working. All right. There we go. So everything so far in here is working. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to comment out these alerts. You can hopefully see why a lot of people don't like to use alerts, because they're kind of irritating. All right. In fact, I should put that back. There we go. All right. So if we get down to this point right here, if we get down to that point right there, what do we know? We made a guess between 1, and 100. So in other words, we made a valid guess. All right. So what do I want to do? Well, there's a couple things that I want to do. All right. The first thing is I want to make sure that there's no asterisk there and there's no message there. So I'm going to come in, and where we set this, I'm going to set it equal to the empty string. I'm going to do that right here. Why? Because we just put in a valid guess. Since we put in a valid guess, we want to add 1 to our total guesses. All right. Now we have to figure out what the guess status is. Was it too high? Was it too low? Was it correct? So rather than doing that inline in this routine, I called a routine called figure guess status. All right. Now it's not going to do anything yet, but I'm going to put it down here. So I'm going to put in const figure guess status. And for now, I will put in an alert that just says in figure guess status function. All right. Just so you know, I'm just throwing a few things at you here. This is referred to as a stub. I'm just putting a print statement basically inside of a function to make sure the function is being called. That's all I'm doing there. All right. But now, if I come in here and run this, if I do put in a valid guess, it's not going to show anything at all in here. But if I do put this in, so 70, and I click make guess, I should get my alert that tells me I'm in the figure guess status and in figure guess status function. So far, everything's working. That's good. All right. And again, what I'm trying to show you here is in my own way, I'm kind of building this incrementally. All right. So let's come in here and I'm going to comment this out. I like to leave those in until I'm all done. Then I can remove them. But if I go back later, I might want to go and uncomment one, both, or all of them. This is the equivalent of coming in and setting a breakpoint that was in chapter 5. I don't like the way breakpoints work in the console, so I do it like this. All right. So in my configured guess status, first thing I'm going to add is a timer. I'm going to set it equal to null. All right. Then now I want to be able to put my status, basically I want to put the guess in there. That's what we call guess status. I don't know why, but it is. Oh, I know why. Okay. So now I want to come in here and I want to say this. Guess status dot value equal guess. Why am I doing that? Because in just a minute, so if I guess 70 like before, now what should be in there is 70. But I want to be able to say either 70 was too high, 70 was too low, or 70 was correct. I want to be able to say any one of those. The other thing I want to do is I want to come in here and I want to put in my total number of guesses. All right. Now I can come in and check the status. Was it too low? Was it too high? Was it correct? All right. Now, everybody watching this live on tape, whatever, you're all smart enough to realize this. I'm not trying to talk down to you. That said, all right, let's say it's brand new. Boom, this is my first guess. Technically, I have a 1% chance of getting it correct. Regardless of what number I put in, I've got a 1 out of 100 chance of it being a success. So I'm not going to check for it being correct first. The chances are either I made a guess that was too high or a guess that was too low, because there's a 99% chance that the guess was either too high or too low. So I'm going to check those two first. So I'm going to come in here and say if my guess is less than the random number, and I just chose arbitrarily, I chose less than rather than greater than first. It doesn't matter. We've already got the number in our guess status, but now I want to say plus equal because I want to say was too low. So that should say, all right, that should say, for example, if I guessed 50 and the number was 70, it should say 50 was too low. All right. On the other hand, if I guess 50 or 70 and the number is 50, then I want to say was too high. So that'll handle 99%, when I start at least, of my guesses. Now, when I do that, I don't want to just give that message. I want to set my timer and tell it that I want it to call clear the form, not the gorm, but the form, not the from, the form, after 5 seconds. And I want to do that in both these cases. That's a little bit of repetitive code, all right, but I can live with that. It's one line. All right, so I've got this. In fact, this should be an else if, and then this can be an else, because if the only thing that's left is I got the number correct. All right, so what do I want to say now? Well, the same kind of thing, except I want to say was correct. Now, the other thing I want to do then, I want to do that timer, but before I do the timer, I want to set the picture. So I'm going to call show the picture. All right. And then I'm going to put this timer line in here. Just like that. All right. Now I'm going to come in and just like we just did a couple minutes ago, I'm going to say const show the picture. And for now, I'm just going to put an alert that says in the show the picture function. All right, and that'll allow me to check everything but that. So file, save all. Let's go back and run it again. See what it looks like. 50. All right, there's 1, and 50 was too low. All right, is it going? It cleared. Good. I don't want that to clear until I click the new game. All right, so it says it was too low, 75. That was too high. So in 2 guesses, I know it's between 51 and 74. All right, I'll say 63. That was too high. So now I know it's between 51 and 62. Let's try 55. Okay. Let's try 52. I'll make it 53. Okay, it looks like it's 52 or 51. So it says I'm in the show the picture function, and 52 was correct in 6 guesses. Also, if I click new game, now notice it was 52. So I could type in 52 again and make a guess, and it's going to go through the whole thing all over again. That's what's kind of stupid. I mean, I could go and take the button when I get it correct, and I could disable the make guess button until you clicked clear form or new game. That's just another, that's just something that could be added to it. Notice if I click new game now, well, that's not all working. That didn't clear. Let's see if we say 52, if it did generate a new number. 52. So that worked, but this total guesses in here wasn't changed. So that already shows there's something missing in the code. All right, so I'm going to come back up here, or down here, I should say, where we've got the start new game. Total guesses. Okay, that's because this is the wrong name. This is total guesses. All right. Again, that's another logical error. Now, I'm surprised it didn't catch that because I have the use strict at the top of the page. And I'm surprised it didn't catch that, but it didn't. All right. So the only thing we've got left then is this show the picture. All right. And I'm going to do it in a very similar way to what I did before, but not. What does that mean? Well, if you remember last time we did this, we knew with what we were working on, all right, in the first example, all right, that we knew exactly how many times we were doing something. Here, the person could literally take 100 guesses or more. So rather than using a switch, I'm going to use an if in here. So I'm going to start like we did previously. I'm going to say ELEM equals document dot create element, and I'm going to create a new image element right there. Now I'm going to come in and say if our total guesses, so if the total number of guesses we made was less than six, meaning it was 5 or less, all right, then I said ELEM dot set attribute, all right, and the source should be set to images slash expert dot JPG. But just in case there's something wrong in there, I'll also do an alert that says expert. All right. So if for some reason I type this in wrong, this should still show me if I get the guesses in under that amount of time, that amount. I'm going to say else if total guesses is less than 11. All right. I'm going to just steal these 2 lines and then modify them. Then it's average. And we want the picture that says average. All right. Else, if our total guesses are greater than 10. All right, you might wonder here, why didn't you just put in right there and else? We could have. All right, this is novice. And so is this. Novice. All right. And I did put in one final else. This should never get hit. This should never get hit. So in fact, what I did was I said else, and I put in here an alert that says illegal, because I've got something in there that's non-numeric, and that should never happen. But I'm going to set the element in here, and I have, you may or may not remember, that I have one of those pictures, and I used it in the last one we were working on as well, that just said NA for not available. Finally, after that, I want to show the picture. So document dot, and this is the one I'm using, is the get element by ID. And that's game, that is game status picture dot append child, and that's that ELEM. All right, let's take it for a spin and see if it works. They're very easily, the way I type, there could be an error in here, but we'll find out in a minute. So I'm going to start brand new. There we go. So I'm going to guess 50. Too low, and there's one guess. Clear the form. All right. There'll be 75. Make a guess. That was still too low. All right. Clear the form. 87. Oh, for some reason, I must have put the number in too early, and then it cleared on the screen. So 87. That was still too low, and I've got three guesses. Notice if I put something in here that's nothing, I get this non-numeric guess, and it should disappear. And if I put something out of range, I get the other message, but they're not incrementing my number of guesses. So it's actually acting the way it's supposed to act. All right. And I don't want to guess last. Let's try 94. That was still too low. And I have four guesses now. Try 97. Still too low. Now I'm going to be average. Well, it's either got to be 99 or 100. All right. Average. Okay. And there's my average picture. And it took 7 guesses. Now, the only thing, oh, it's all cleared except for this. And that should clear if I click this. There we go. Now, it was 97. So I should have a new number in here now. If I do 97, it says it was too high. Good. Let's see if I can get at least it come in here. In fact, let's just do this. I'm going to put in here 1, which I know will be too low probably, but I'm going to put it in here a bunch of times. Now you can change the I said 5 seconds. You can change that around too. Maybe you could change it to 2, and of course it'll play a lot faster then. All right, that's not a problem. I just did it like this because you never know the age of the person playing it. When you get older like me, all right, you want a little bit more time to kind of recoup, so to speak. All right, so I'm at 7. I'm going to get it up to 10, and then I'm going to try to guess it. All right, now I'll try. So it's between 50 and 96, 51 and 96. Okay. Right. So it's between 65 and 69. So it's probably 66. No, then it's probably 65. All right, says I'm a novice. There's that picture. Took 16 guesses. Now, just to be able to choose the other one, while you're testing, that's why this thing in here that when I first figured out the random number, or when I first set it rather, all right, let's just put an alert in here. I'm going to grab this one that we used before, and I'm going to do this. And I'm going to say alert, and I'm going to undo this. And I'm going to say the random number was, all right, and then we're going to put in the random number. Now, at the beginning of the game, that's not the one that's going to be getting hit, I don't think. All right, so I'm going to also check it when I did it down here as well. No, someplace down here there we got it. So I'm going to put it here. And the only reason that I'm doing this is while, what doesn't it like here? Oh, don't want that. All right, that fixed that. Did I screw up the other one too? Yes, I did. All right. So when I first start playing it, I want to be able to get expert to make sure that's working. So we will play the game again. And now when we play it, well, I thought it was going to show and it didn't. Okay. All right, the number is 58. Too low. Let's just guess it right away. So 58, make guess. It says I'm an expert. Boom. All right, expert didn't show. All right, I thought that was the right number, wasn't it? Make guess. Boom. There we go. I don't know why it didn't show the first time. 58 was correct. So it appears at least as though everything's working. The new game should clear everything. Notice I got a new random number and everything cleared. All right. I don't know. You're still there, Grant, correct?
Yes, I am.
All right. Anything on here that you need any further explanation on?
I don't think so.
All right. So again, last thing I'll say, and this is for the benefit of everybody, tomorrow, I'll even give you this much, just so you know. We're going to be working with the rock, paper, scissors thing again. Okay? So you can probably guess when I say right here that you should be, oh, okay, it stopped. That you should be able to, in a minute, that you should be able to do this. You should, in your own way, you should now be able to figure out where on that rock, paper, scissors you're going to be doing this. We did alerts previously. We're going to get rid of the alerts and replace it with something like this. All right. And also, you're going to be putting pictures in there. I've actually got a picture down here that you'll put in. It'll say something like, thank you. All right. You've been subscribed or whatever. And then also for the rock, paper, scissors game, what you'll do now is you'll show a picture, and I'm providing them for you, of rock or paper or scissors to show who won the game. All right. That will be sent out to you by 7 a.m. tomorrow. I would strongly recommend take and make a copy of the last test that you took. So in case something gets screwed up, you've got the copy to go back to. You probably have it on GitHub anyway, but just to be sure, and then work with that one. This will be JS Hot 3. That'll be tomorrow. All right, Thursday. Friday will be our lab day. And next Monday, unless it turns out a little differently, we're going to see if Monday we can do chapters 8 and 9. So when you look at 8 and 9, let me go back here. That one is 5. The hope is, though, by next week, we can go through all of this. Now, you might even think, well, that's a lot to go through. First of all, it's only about 100 pages. All right, 120, 115, something like that. Second of all, much of the stuff that's in here is just going to be another way of doing what we already learned how to do with what we've been doing so far is called vanilla JavaScript. I didn't make up the term. All right. But that's what we've been doing so far in here. But now we're going to bring in a JavaScript library, jQuery, which allows us in many ways to supercharge what we're doing. All right. So unless you said you have no other questions, I will tomorrow at 8:05, I will be spending 15 minutes going over the instructions for the test. The test is only worth 75 points as opposed to our usual 100. And thanks again, Grant. I always appreciate you being here. And I will talk to you all tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a nice day.
You too.